Hello, everyone, and welcome to this podcast. I must admit, I did not vote yesterday. And the reason why I did not vote was because I reside in a Republican state with Republican candidates, and my vote, although it would have counted in the tabulation, it would not have made a difference to the extent that I really felt patriotic when I cast my vote. So I decided I wasn't going to do it. And I stuck to that. And someone will say, well, you can't say a doggone thing because you didn't vote. But for the first time in my life, I felt that voting pointless this time. Not because I don't care about my right to vote as an African American. Not because I didn't feel as an independent / Democrat that Kamala Harris had a chance. I just did not feel right voting. I must admit I was very disappointed in the results. There's no other way I can say that. But what bothered me the most was there was an echo of 2016 that I could see so clearly. And I communicated this with my family that there was too much confidence in the Harris campaign that looking at the early voting, I think it discouraged some people to feel like they needed to go and vote. Some people said it out, possibly. But the thing that surprised me was that many people of color voted Republican. And I'm not saying that every Republican is not for people of color or the working class. I'm just saying, what happened that people felt that a person who basically disrespected their race, culture, ethnicity, status, and everything else that can be associated with a human in this country, how they decided to vote for them. And it came down to that silver dollar. It came down to the economy. And the problem with that is, why are we recovering from this type of inflation? All that money that was spent during the pandemic because it was not fixed properly, because it wasn't taken care of properly. We gave out loans and this and that and this and that with no guardrails, people lying, all of that money given to companies they didn't have to pay back. The world was affected by COVID. What you see is the normal process of an economy based on macro and microeconomics, in my opinion. However, what always happens is that, honestly, during a Republican presidency, the economy gets screwed over. Then the Democrats try to come and revive it. And despite all the things that were positively affecting individuals in America, they could not get over that cost of eggs, that cost of sugar or orange juice or anything. And they fail to understand that, and this is where you get what you ask for, but you're not going to get what you want. If your candidate that won this election creates an environment so toxic that you're not going to have a job, you're not going to have, adequate money to go buy this stuff that you so want, and things will be cheap. That dollar bill will be cheap, because if he screws up those tariffs, you can bet your bottom dollar that if you're struggling to pay your bills now, you're going to be screwed over if that crap goes into effect. You fail to understand that the consistency of changing the tax code will not benefit you, and your paycheck will be less. So you're going to really have problems. And guess what? You're not going to be able to probably get those various subsidies or assistance that you may need, because they want to gut government spending in certain programs that eventually you may need. And a vegetarian can survive off of fruits and vegetables, but nobody else probably can. Maybe biologically, but not psychologically you can't. You're going to want your food that you really want. And what I'm saying is, we can't see the future, but we could change the present. But maybe Kamala was not the best candidate for the Democratic Party. Maybe America has shown us that they don't want a female president. Even the Democrats in their own party would not vote for the lady. And she's the vice president. Maybe people didn't want another person of color in the seat. Maybe all that racism and bigotry and hate and just disregard for people of minority status finally worked again like it used to in the old South and old America that some of us still experience to this day. What I do know is that God allowed it. But there's a scripture in the Bible, and I'm not going to quote it correctly, but I'm going to reference it properly, in that it says sometimes the punishment of a nation or a country is the leader that they're given. And sometimes we make a decision that's based on some of the most disgusting, superficial, and dysfunctional things, and we reap what we sow. We get what we ask for, but we will not get what we want. You will not be pleased in the end. You will not be pleased in the end. I can only imagine the dysfunctionality trying to tell people who are actually American citizens that they're not, putting them in camps, deporting them to countries they're not really from, using our military for God knows what, bothering Republicans who have literal blood, sweat, and tears for their country, fought in wars, led in the military, being disrespected. I don't get this. This is not a good sign about what America has become, because somewhere, even if it was the economy, stupid, like, that's blood money, that's morality money, that's ethical money, that's illegal money, that's dirty money, that's laundered money. The fact that people sold themselves out just to be a part of the dysfunction. I do get it. I keep saying I don't get it, but I do get it. It shows that people are willing to embrace anything so as to stay in power, not knowing that they have literally relinquished it. It's so disturbing. Yesterday didn't feel like an election. It felt like the end of America as we know it. Things will be totally different once things have switched hands. You may not want to accept it. You can't see it right now. And some of you Republicans, you're going to regret it. You're going to regret it for yourselves, for sure. You're going to regret it for your teenagers. You're going to regret it for your grandchildren. You're going to regret it for the kids you don't know and the children that you can't see. You're going to regret it for the world. You're going to regret it for Ukraine. You're going to regret it for Taiwan. You're going to regret it for the for the NATO. You're gonna regret it. We forgot about all these things that make us great. Is the stability of the world. In order for us to still engage in trade, to engage in diplomacy, to engage in containment, to sometimes, if necessary, to engage in independence and just not really choosing a side, just being free of not being involved in the situation. Now we're in a situation where we may find ourselves involved in more places than we need to because our interests are now in dire straits. I do not believe that people saw this from a macro perspective whatsoever. They saw it from a micro perspective, and I'm going to even go as low as a nano perspective. It is so discouraging inside of the mind of any civil human being that we couldn't do any better than this in the Republican Party. That it's possible that even in failure, Biden may have still not even given him the popular vote, but he got the popular vote. In what world? In what world can a person responsible for this just destroying the quilt and fabric of our nation from every level, from a psychological, emotional, financial, physical, political, fundamental. I mean, every level, he is dysfunctional. 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 We chose dysfunction. We emboldened someone who told us that they were going to be a dictator on day one. We emboldened someone who put people on the courts, who told us that a president can get away with something if they thought it could possibly be something associated with their established and determined powers. We've said it's okay to threaten people. We've said it's okay to not care about people in other nations. What have we said to ourselves? We've even given someone who put themselves on the level of Jesus Christ. And how are you a Christian and you trying to get someone up in there who's putting themselves on the level of Jesus Christ? Like, what in the world were we thinking? That even if I had voted, it would not have mattered because we had people in our own party who jumped ship for $1 that ain't gonna be worth piss in a couple months because of the disastrous and dysfunction of the world stability, the BRICS individuals. That's still gonna happen. And then we got some broads talking about let's secure the third term. And unfortunately, due to the daggone dysfunctionality that has already plagued this country since that dude felt the need to run and then get elected not once, but dang near twice. In the face of all of these endorsements, all of these warnings, all of this stuff that he's already done, and we still said, "You're good, boo. You're great. We like so love you like right now. Oh my God, like we can't wait for you to get back in office." Ew. Like, what? Are you serious? Like, think about Mike Pence right now. Think about how he feels knowing that someone who he sat with every day, 3 to 4 years, every day, this man got back in office and he was willing to let him go under the bus.